प्रेम से कहूँ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Chai. 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 Hari Hari Bol. Hari Krishna.
All glories to assembled Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai. So, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I want to express how grateful and happy I am today to be with all of you, to share and to hear about Srila Prabhupada. First, I wanted to ask, do we have a lot of Russian ladies? Everybody speaking in English? Yes? No? Maybe someone can translate for the one who don't speak English. Yeah. You can, and also Mataji. So, Om Adganati Milandasya Gyanam Shanam Salakaya Shaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I affirm my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, for I was in the darkness of ignorance. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaline Nirvise Sashunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, I was told, dear devotees, that we are going to read from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And actually, we are starting chapter 1, Srila Prabhupada's childhood. And so I want to offer my respectful obeisances to the author of that beautiful Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Sadhvarup Maharaj. Actually, he did such a great service because a lot of us in the audience, we didn't meet Srila Prabhupada in this lifetime. But by reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, it will be like you are meeting Srila Prabhupada. We will start from his childhood and all his life and teaching until his last breath. So it's going to be an extraordinary meeting, and you will know Srila Prabhupada. It's like when we saw the movie of Yadubara and Vishaka Prabhu. Everybody was so moved. Everybody said it's like a second coming of Srila Prabhupada. So Lilamrita will be like that. So we have about 3/4 of an hour. I was going to read a little bit about the childhood and share, and after share with you the qualities that I appreciate maybe the most. It's difficult to choose which qualities, we appreciate the most in Srila Prabhupada and tell some pastimes about these qualities. If you ask Srila Prabhupada disciples, which quality did you like the best? A lot of us will tell you Srila Prabhupada infinite compassion. You know, it's a causeless mercy, it's compassion. So the little pastime will be about Srila Prabhupada's compassion. And I wanted to ask in the room if there are any other Srila Prabhupada disciples here. Yeah? No, not now. Okay. So let's start reading about Srila Prabhupada's childhood. So the author is taking us back 2 centuries ago, when India was not independent yet. India was under the rule of the British Empire, under the rule of Queen Victoria. And at that time, there was a saying in the world that the sun never sets on the British Empire. So Prabhupada took birth at that time. There is actually something Srila Prabhupada said and wrote. He's talking about his childhood, about his father, Gaur Morandi, who was a pure devotee. He said, we would be sleeping and father would be doing artik. Ding, ding, ding. We would hear the bell and wake up and see him bowing down before Krishna. So these are the first memories of Srila Prabhupada. So we are going back in time, and we are going to go to the beautiful celebration of Janmastami. It was Janmastami, the annual celebration of the advent of Lord Krishna, some 5,000 years before. Residents of Calcutta, mostly Bengali and other Indians, but also many Muslim and even some British, were observing the festive day, moving here and there through the city streets to visit the temples of Lord Krishna. Devout Vaishnava fasting until midnight, chanting Hare Krishna, and heard about the birth and activities of Lord Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam. They continued fasting, chanting, and worshipping throughout the night. So we can see that at that time, everybody in India was united. Even people from the Muslim community would come and celebrate Janmastami. It was before the partition. The partition divided not only the Holy Land of India, but also people, unfortunately. Because at the time it was known that the British, they were actually dividing people to rule. So the next day, September 1st, 1896, in a little house in the Toli Ganga suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born. Since he was born on Nandotsadva, the day Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth, the boy's uncle called him, who knows? Nandulal. But his father, Gaur Morandi, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, even taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Actually, Srila Prabhupada all his life was the personification of his name, Abhay Charan. I remember when a few, maybe not even 2 years after I joined Krishna consciousness in London. It was in 71. In the temple, we heard a very, very amazing news that Srila Prabhupada was at the moment in the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union, for us Westerners, was such a terrible place. It was behind what we called the Iron Curtain. And if anybody was opposed to the communist regime, he will disappear from the surface of the earth. He will go to camp, to labor camp, or he will go to prison. Even a great personality that the government didn't accept anymore, they were taken away from the history books. Their pictures was taken away from the history books the children were studying in school. So when I heard Srila Prabhupada was in the Soviet Union, I remember thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada is so brave, he's really fearless. And I remember feeling very, very proud of Srila Prabhupada, because at that time it was very dangerous. The KGB was actually forbidding any religious books. People were taking to camps if they were printing the Bible even. But Prabhupada was going to that Soviet Union, which was actually the kingdom of atheism. At that time in Moscow, there was even a university of atheism. Maybe the only country in the world to have a faculty or university of atheism. So we know when we are chanting Srila Prabhupada second mantra, pranam mantra, that Srila Prabhupada came following in the footsteps of his beloved spiritual master. He came to eradicate voidism and impersonalism. And surely atheism is in the same category. So Srila Prabhupada was very, very determined to go to the Soviet Union, just to spread love of God. And Shyamasundar Prabhu, who actually was with Srila Prabhupada, was talking about these 5 days as the 5 days that changed the world. When Prabhupada was there, he met one professor called Professor Katowski. And they talk about Varnashram Dharma, how any society, even the society in the Soviet Union, cannot be a classless society. Because by birth, everybody will have some tendency to have occupations in life. The 4 different occupations, the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Shudra, the Vaishya. So Professor Katowski agreed. And then Srila Prabhupada asked, can I see the students? And Professor Katowski said, oh, today, no students. Prabhupada was disappointed. Can I see the teachers? No teachers today. Because Professor Katowski was so frightened of the KGB. He chose a day where nobody will be in the Institute of Indology. So Prabhupada was feeling very, very disappointed. But by Krishna's arrangement, the rest is history. A few days later, Shyamasundar went to the grocery store to buy whatever could be bought at the time, not much, maybe milk, potatoes, cabbage, carrots. And a young man approached him. And seeing that Shyamasundar was dressed in dhoti and shika, tilak, he said, oh, you're coming from India? And Shyamasundar said, no, I'm not coming from India. Then the boy's name was Anatoly. Anatoly asked, do you have any jeans to sell? Because the youth was striving from anything coming from the West. And Shyamasundar had dhoti, so he said, no, I don't have any jeans. And then Anatoly asked, do you have any records from the Beatles? Then Shyamasundar became very ecstatic. He said, no, I don't have any records from the Beatles, but my spiritual master is here. He's actually the spiritual master of the Beatles. Would you like to see him? And Anatoly and his young friend, Indian friend Madhukar, said, yes, we would like to see him. And then they met Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada gave so much to that boy just in 2 days. Shyamasundar never saw Srila Prabhupada giving so much to one single devotee. He taught him everything about Krishna consciousness. And when the boy asked him, I would like to spread Krishna consciousness, should I become a pope? You know, pope are Orthodox priest. They are in black, long hair, long beard. So Prabhupada laughed and said, no, it's not necessary. So Prabhupada at that time, he could see the future in that situation. A devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, do you know everything? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, I just know what Krishna wants me to know. Then he was passing near the mausoleum of Lenin. You know Lenin, the founder of Marxism. After Marx, he put in practice in the country communism. And Prabhupada said that communist regime won't last more than 20 years. At the time, nobody could believe that because Russia was so strong politically. That was the Cold War with America and the Western world. And then exactly 20 years later, communism started to break down. And what we called in Russia perestroika, meaning change, started to appear. So this to say that Prabhupada was fearless, because when we celebrated in Moscow the 40th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada coming to Moscow, one devotee, a veteran devotee, came on stage to tell us his following story in a very, very humble way. These devotees from the beginning, they were real heroes. Some of them gave up their lives. Others gave up their freedom, their mental health, just to spread love of God, Krishna consciousness. So that devotee, he was a cook for Krishna. And he came on the stage and he told us, at that time, I was a KGB officer. And one day my hierarchy came to me. And they told me, we have a new mission for you. You see here, there is a book. So we give you this book, and you have to study the books very, very carefully. You can take all the time you need. Because we have to know the philosophy of our opponents to defeat them. So you know which book it was? Which book? Yeah, Bhagavad Gita, as it is. So the KGB men, he took Bhagavad Gita and he started to study it really well. But very soon he got a big problem. He loved it. He couldn't find anything wrong with it. So he got also a list of devotees to be arrested. And one day he knocked on one door. The lady devotee opened and she got very frightened. Then he told her, "Do not worry, I have some questions about Bhagavad Gita." And then he told her, "You and your friends, please, you should change flat very soon, because you are going to be arrested by the KGB." So his hierarchy came back and told him, "What's happening? You're really taking a long time to read this book." And he told them, "I love my country, I love Lenin, I love Marx, I love Stalin, but I have a big problem. I have obeyed your order, but I don't find anything wrong in this Bhagavad Gita." So they discussed and they understood. He just obeyed orders. So they didn't punish him, but he had to leave the KGB. So just for these books, it was very dangerous to come to Russia. And when we heard Srila Prabhupada was there, we felt so proud that he was really fearless. So let's go back a little, maybe one or two paragraphs on the beautiful childhood of Srila Prabhupada. And after, we will talk about Srila Prabhupada compassion. Is it okay? Okay. So we were, in accordance to Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery. And so it was that on the bank of the Adi Ganga, a few miles from his father's home, in a small two-room, mud-walled house with a tiled roof underneath a jackfruit tree, that Abai Charan was born. A few days later, Abai returned with his parents to their homes at 151 Harrison Road. An astrologer did an horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When the child reached the age of 70, he will cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. So they were very jubilant, because Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohandi, was a pure devotee. And from the very beginning, he wanted to train Abai to become a pure devotee, a pure Vaishnav. We will read later, when Abai was in age to go to school, his father asked a Mridanga teacher to come and teach Abai. So Prabhupada told us some days he was just going on the porch of the house, listening to the rain dropping, and listening to the rain, he was practicing the Mridanga. His father just was praying every sadhu who would come to the house that, "Please bless my son, so he will become a pure servant of Srimati Radharani." The mother, Rajani, she would have liked Abai to become a British lawyer, to go to London, but the father didn't allow that. He didn't want Abai to be polluted with materialistic British education. So that prediction, we know all of us, that prediction came true. And Prabhupada did even much further devotional activities. He did a miracle. The whole world now knows about Krishna consciousness. We say that Hare Krishna mantra becomes a household word, actually. Everybody knows. And I travel often to Russia, and I can tell you that 300 kilometers above the polar circle in a country called Murmansk, we have devotees. They are like jewels. It's not much in that city. It's snowing, it's ice most of the time. In June, you find ice. Not many fruits. Everything is imported. But there is a temple of Krishna. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is sung there. So that prediction reminded me of something that happened when Srila Prabhupada came to New York. You have seen in the movie of Yadubara and Vishaka that Prabhupada was dressed like an Indian sadhu. He had white plastic rubber shoes, and he had maybe 2 chadar. It was very cold. And he was sitting on a bench near Madison Square. And he saw that all the buildings were whitish. Srila Prabhupada thought some people have painted the building, but it was the first time Srila Prabhupada saw snow. Then he was sitting on the bench, it was cold, he had practically no money. He was just going to the bookshops, trying to sell the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam he had taken on the Jaladuta. But it was very difficult because he couldn't understand the American accent of the bookkeepers, and they couldn't understand his Indian Victorian accent. So sometimes he was actually starving. He couldn't sleep. He had pain in the stomach. But he was carry on like that, completely alone at the time. And one American gentleman sat near him and asked him, "Why have you come here? What is your purpose?" And Srila Prabhupada told him, "Actually, I have many followers. I have great opulences. And I have 108 temples. But time is separating." So Prabhupada knew. So I'm going now to go to describe some pastimes, lila, about Srila Prabhupada's compassion. And I don't know if you read every day Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita or every week, I don't know. Is it every day? Every day? Every Sunday. So you are going to go further and further. We just passed Srila Prabhupada's birth, the day after Janmastami, and you are going to see him developing his unique Vaishnava qualities as a child, and even doing many devotional activities. And Srila Prabhupada told us later, actually what I'm doing now all over the world, I did as a child. Just book publishing, book translating, writing, publishing, distribution, I didn't do. But all the rest I did, worshipping the deities, doing a Ratha Yatra in the street of Calcutta. Srila Prabhupada did as a child, chanting bhajan, learning harmonium. So let's talk about Srila Prabhupada compassion. Maybe you already know the story, but some of them are some of my favorite. Who knows the story? To show Prabhupada kindness, compassion, how he will never forget anybody, a friend, or how he will never forget even one student, one disciple, even if the disciple fell down, didn't succeed. How his mercy was limitless. Same as his Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, and how he will also never forget any one of you. He will never forget any devotional service you are doing. Because Srila Prabhupada didn't come only for his direct disciples. He came for all the new generation and all generation to come. And he's witnessing all your devotional service. And he loves every one of you very, very much. He's not far away from you. He's like the universal Siksha Guru for many, many generations to come. So who knows the story of Mr. Mangulam? Somebody know? Mr. Mangulam? No? Okay. So the story starts in Bangalore. It was after Prabhupada left the world. There is one devotee, American devotee, whose duty was to go out and to do what we called life membership. Everybody knows about life membership? Yeah? Everybody knows. It is still going on? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So, life membership, you approach devotees, it was the instruction of Prabhupada, you approach wealthy, aristocratic people, and you ask them to become a life member of ISKCON, a member for life. And they can stay 3 days in each temple of ISKCON, normally, and they can get books. So that Prabhu, he didn't like doing that job. He was, that seva, no job. He was not very successful. But he had to do it. So he said, who am I going to phone? He took the phone book and he said, oh, I should get maybe somebody from Bengal. Then they will become life member because they should be very proud of Prabhupada. Maybe it will be easy to make them life members. So he looked at the phone book and he found a Bengali name, Mr. Mangulam. So he said, I'm going to call Mr. Mangulam. So he called, hello, Mr. Mangulam, I'm from ISKCON. I want to present you the life membership program. Can I come and see you? Yes, you can come tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. So the Prabhu goes and he comes at the address and he cannot believe it. It's a very luxurious, expensive, modern building like you can see in Bangalore. And he thinks nobody's going to accept to become life member here. You know, it's such a modern company. And so he goes to the reception and the lady says, okay, you want to see Mr. Mangulam? She phones, and he's taken to the first floor. Then same thing happened again. Somebody very well dressed, you know, comes and says, yes, I'm taking care of you. He's taken to the second floor. And it goes on up to the 10th floor. It's a very huge building. And he starts feeling a little nervous, you know. He looks, he's not very clean, not very well ironed, and everybody is dressed so posh. And all of a sudden he realized that Mr. Mangulam is the big boss of that company. So the secretary knocks on one door and takes him in. And here there is a council of the boards of the board of directors of the company. And Mr. Mangulam is sitting, and seeing the devotee, he says, "Okay, the meeting is finished now. You all go out. I have to meet that Hare Krishna devotee." So the devotee is feeling a little nervous. And Mr. Mangulam says, "So, what can I do for you?" So he doesn't know how to present really well. He is just pulling a little book, and he says, "Well, Mr. Mangulam, you're from Bengal. Our spiritual master is also Bengali, the founder, Acharya of ISKCON. You should be very proud because you're a Bengali. So you have to become a life member." So Mr. Mangulam smiles, and he said, "And how much does it cost to become a life member?" So it's a long time ago, so maybe now it's not so much, but at the time it was a lot. It was 2,222 rupees. It's not much now, no? No? Yeah, but it was a lot, you know. And Mr. Mangulam takes his checkbook, he writes, and he gives the check. And the devotee looks, 10,000 rupees. So he says, "Oh, thank you so much." And Mr. Mangulam tells him, "Actually, I was not very impressed by your speech." And the devotee says, "Me neither." But he said, "I called you because I want to tell you a story. When my father, who now is departed, was a young child, he had a very good friend, and they were going together to school on bicycle. And actually, his very good friend was your spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And when they became a little older, they started to play chess. They were doing chess contest, and they didn't contest for money, but the winner was invited at the other child's home to have lunch. And guess who was always winning? Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, even small, was always winning. So he came a lot to the house. Then they started to grow up and to go to university. And Mr. Mangulam was actually learning Sanskrit. And he became a very, very famous Sanskrit teacher. He got his PhD in Sanskrit. And Abhay, Prabhupada, told him, "Later on, when I will be doing things, you can come to help me." So Mr. Mangulam asked, "What kind of things?" Prabhupada didn't answer. Then they didn't see each other for very, very long time. And they became old. Prabhupada became old. Mr. Mangulam's father became old. And the boss of the big company was a student in Calcutta. One day he saw a big poster, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is coming to our temple in Albert Road, and is going to give lectures. So he had heard all his life about Prabhupada, because Mangulam's father was very proud. He was telling his students and his family, he was saying, "I know the founder Acharya of ISKCON, he's a holy man. He was my friend from school, from the kindergarten practically." So the young student went to hear Srila Prabhupada, and it was a beautiful lecture. But Prabhupada, looking at him, recognized him because he looked like his father when he was young. So after the class, he came to him and he asked, "Where is your father?" So young Mangulam said, "Oh, he didn't come. Please tell him to come. I want to see him." So the son went to talk to the father, and he said, "I went to listen to Prabhupada in the temple in Calcutta, and he wants to see you." Old Mangulam said, "Oh no, I cannot go. I'm too ashamed. I'm a Griyamedi. All my life I just wanted to be famous, to accumulate wealth, and be famous. I cannot see Prabhupada. He's a holy man." So his son said, "But he's going to ask for you. What should I say?" "You can say, I am sick." So he went again to listen to Srila Prabhupada. And yes, Srila Prabhupada asked, "Where is your father?" "Oh, my father is sick." And then next morning, Srila Prabhupada used to go to morning walks. He didn't go the usual way. He remembered the house of the Mangulam family. So with all the devotees, they came and they knocked on the door. And the servant went to tell his master, "The spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement is there with all his disciples. What shall we do?" And all the neighbors were looking. It was quite a posh area. So Mr. Mangulam says, "You let him in." So Prabhupada came with 2 disciples. And before that, the father, Mr. Mangulam, remembered he was supposed to be sick. So he went in the bed. And Prabhupada came, and Prabhupada started to talk with him in Bengali. And the old friendship came again, like when they were students or kids, they were joking together. And Mr. Mangulam told him, "I'm so ashamed in front of you. You are such a pure devotee, holy man. I'm just a Griyamedi." And Prabhupada said, "Do not worry. It's never too late. I will take you with me. It's not too late. I will take you with me." And old Mangula became so happy. He thought, Srila Prabhupada is taking me with him. He's taking me, maybe he will take me to America, to London, and I can do a devotional service for Krishna. He said, "It's not too late." And he was just in pure ecstasy. Then Srila Prabhupada left, and the son came back in the evening. So father told him, "Prabhupada came, and he's going to take me with him." And he was so happy. He was chanting Hare Krishna. And he was the happiest man in the world. But then, in a matter of minutes, he just left his body, chanting Hare Krishna and thinking, Srila Prabhupada is going to take me. So now we go back in Bangalore, when the young student has become the big boss of that big aeronautic company. And he said, in the beginning, we thought Srila Prabhupada is going to take him to London, to New York. But now I understood that Srila Prabhupada meant, I'm going to take you with me back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada never forgot his old friend. When he saw him, although he didn't practice so much spiritual life, he came to give his mercy to him, to take him home back to Godhead. And the big boss said to the devotees, by the way, I'm already a life member. You know, he was already a life member. And then he started to come to the temple and to help the devotees to do devotional service in Bangalore. So that was the story of Mr. Mangulam. And I think it's a very moving story, how Srila Prabhupada never forgets any little friendship, any little devotional service. So we can be sure he will not forget us. So, dear devotees, I still have two stories, but it's 7 o'clock, so you tell me what I should do, if we should carry on or if we should stop. I'm your servant, so you tell me. One more. Is it okay? But if you have to go, you can go. Huh? You can go if you have to go. Maybe you know that story. It's a famous story. It shows also the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. It's a story told by a wonderful devotee from India. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe his name is Haridas Prabhu. You know him, maybe. So you will probably know the story, but it's so beautiful. So he's telling the story how life, his destiny from the very beginning was not an easy one. Actually, his mother just put him in the street when he was a baby. And like many children in India, he just grew up as he could. You know, mainly by stealing with his little hands, very swift. He could steal people and survive. And he became a big, an adult and a better thief. He would steal the tourists, and one day he met one devotee. And the devotee gave him a magazine, Back to Godhead. That young man was not interested in spiritual life. But he looked at the magazine and he saw the beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada. What attracted him in that picture? Was it Srila Prabhupada's beautiful smile? Yes, yeah. It was not Srila Prabhupada's beautiful smile. It was what Prabhupada had around his wrist, a beautiful, very expensive watch. Because devotees would give Prabhupada gifts when he came to the temple. And Prabhupada was very cautious of not wasting time. So watch was a favored gift to give to Srila Prabhupada. If the devotees were very poor, they would give plastic watch. But when a devotee was very wealthy, it was very expensive, first-class watch, maybe gold. So that man became obsessed with that watch. And he couldn't think of anything else, what to do to steal it. He thought, I'm going to pretend I want to be a devotee. So he joined an ISKCON temple. He joined an ISKCON temple, and he was really a good bhakta. He was washing the pots, cleaning the floor, doing everything. And the temple authority were very happy about him. But Prabhupada was not coming to the temple. But he was still carry on because he was so obsessed with that watch. And one day the great news came. Srila Prabhupada is coming to the temple. So the temple president, being very happy with the devotee, arranged that he should meet Srila Prabhupada. He came into Srila Prabhupada's room. He offered his pranam, dandavat, and Prabhupada told him to come closer. as usual, Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the floor behind a low desk table. And Srila Prabhupada's elbow was like that on the table. And of course, Srila Prabhupada had the watch. So Haridas he was not Haridas yet, but he was looking at the watch. And Prabhupada didn't talk to him, just looking at him very, very deeply. And when Srila Prabhupada was looking at you, it was so much compassion, and it was also like a scan. You couldn't hide anything from Srila Prabhupada, you know. And Srila Prabhupada didn't say anything. He looked at the boy, and very slowly he took his watch out, and he gave him the watch. And from that time, that boy became a true devotee. You know, he was overwhelmed with transcendental happiness. He was overwhelmed by the loving care of Srila Prabhupada. But Prabhupada did something more to him. Remember, that boy didn't know his parents. So he became a good devotee, he became Haridas Prabhu, and he had to do some service, he had to take a plane, and he had to fly, and he needed a passport. So he started filling the document, but then he couldn't do, he was stopped. So he went to Srila Prabhupada saying, I cannot get my passport, Srila Prabhupada, I cannot fill the document. And Srila Prabhupada says, show me the document. Show me the document. So he showed him what he couldn't feel. It was written, name of the father. So Prabhupada says, give me the document. He took a pen and name of the father, he wrote, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So not only did he give the boy fulfill his material wish, that beautiful watch, but after that, he also gave him what he never had in his life, the best father in the world. So the beautiful story of Haridas. So dear Prabhus and Matajis, I don't want to take more of your time, but if you have any questions or if you like to share something, you are most welcome. It's okay.
I just wanted to thank you because it was really beautiful. I got so engrossed, I didn't know how to come across. So definitely it was so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. I want to thank you all to have come and allow me to, in that beautiful spiritual place, to talk about Srila Prabhupada. But the one we really have to thank is Srila Prabhupada, you know, because his mercy is absolutely limitless. And he did what nobody else could do. He was actually chosen by Lord Chaitanya. Of course, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they prepared everything for ISKCON to manifest, and all of our Acharya. But it's Prabhupada who got to do it. And so we have to thank him so much. We can never repay him. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I wanted to know if you could talk about your pastime with the Russian incident with Anatoly, and I think Prabhupada something for someone to go and help him? I think you were involved in that to go as a, I don't know if he was supposed to go, he wanted someone to go as his wife or something.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
talk about that?
But sorry, it will take a long time. Maybe another time if you want. We can ask the because that will take the full hour. But yes, Prabhupada was so merciful that he gave me that extra wonderful seva to try to serve the Russian devotees. But that will take long time. So if there is time, I'll be very happy to share this with you. Because now time is flying away. So it's a long topic.
Can you tell any some experience which you have?
Yes.
Any of your experience with
Yeah.
Prabhupada, some personal interaction?
Okay, Prabhuji. It will take also a very long time, but I can pick one. By the mercy of the Lord, when Krishna within sees that we are really searching for spiritual life, he's making all the arrangements. So I was with two friends from school, and we met devotees in Paris. You have heard my French accent. So it was in Paris that we met the devotees. Devotees were just coming from America. They had no money. They were sleeping under the bridges of the river called La Seine. And we met them somehow or other when time was ripe. So to make things short, after some time they told us Srila Prabhupada is actually opening a temple in London. Why don't you go and meet him? Because we were actually looking for a spiritual master. But we were very polluted by Mayavad philosophy. So we thought, okay, let's go and meet A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to see if he's a real spiritual master, because we don't want to cheat. We were so foolish. And I can tell you the first time I saw Srila Prabhupada, we came to the temple. We were with one of my friends. We were two 19-year-old girls. And at that time, all the devotees dressed in sari and dhoti. So we were in civil clothes. And the ladies thought we looked like Maya Devi. So they put a sari on us. They put our hair properly. And then we came to the temple room. It was actually a very blessed day. It was December 14th, 69. It was the day of the installation of Shri Shri Radha Nandanishvara. Wonderful, beautiful deities. Maybe Prabhupada's favored, I don't know. About these deities, Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna has cheated you. He didn't come as a murti, he came himself. So we came in that temple. The installation had been done. It's another beautiful story. And there was a divine kirtan. Yamuna Devi was singing, Mukunda was on the drum, and it was very, very divine. And all of a sudden, all the devotees fell flat on the floor. So we didn't know why. We never did that before. But as we were polite young girls, we did the same. But Prabhupada said, ladies are very curious. Is it true? Yeah? So I was very curious. So I put my head up a little, and I saw two beautiful golden lotus feet passing nearby. And I wanted to know more to whom they belonged. And I saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time. He was actually entering through the door of the temple. The altar was in front, and beside was the Vyasasana. So Srila Prabhupada walked towards the Vyasasana. And I had immediately looking at him, he was very straight, his head up like that. And I thought, oh, he looks so aristocratic. He looks like the emperor of the world. And at the same time, a very antinomic thought came, but he also looks like the most humble sage in the universe. So that was my first meeting with Srila Prabhupada. Then he sat on the Vyasasana, he started leading this beautiful melodic kirtan, very, very slow. Then the tempo picked up, then very meditative again. And he gave a small lecture. And when our glances met, I became overwhelmed. I did not know why some tears were coming, and I thought, why I'm not crying out of grief, or I'm not overjoyed, and with extraordinary happiness, what's happening? And I understood, actually, this man, he knows me better than I do. He knows everything. He knows all the success, all the failures, and he has so much compassion. He wants to help. He wants to help. And he has the means to help. During that first 20-minute talk, Prabhupada answered a lot of our existential questions. Even we didn't have to speak them aloud. So that first visit in London, Prabhupada stayed 7 days, and after he had to fly. But these 7 days were enough for Prabhupada to capture us, to save us from Mayavad philosophy. He was very kind, very loving, very patient. And he knew exactly what to say at the right moment. So that was a wonderful first meeting with Srila Prabhupada. Like that. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I thank you immensely. And, may Srila Prabhupada shower on every one of you torrents of blessing and loving care. And may you please him and your dear spiritual masters in this lifetime. Hare Krishna, and thank you to have taken the mission of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. Haribol.